Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic and that you're all having a wonderful day. The question of the day is, how much money do you want to make from the cryptocurrency market? I ask because a couple of my friends have varying degrees of how much money is a lot of money to them. I have a friend who says he only needs $500,000. That buys him a house and that buys him a general level of freedom. And I have another friend who wants to make about $20 million from the market. How much money do you, listening to this right now, want to make from this market? And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. The cryptocurrency space is a wild and fantastic thing. I'm very happy that people who have been here for a while have kind of stuck with the channel. Thank you very much for that in advance and also just in general. Because I want to make sure constantly that you know what's actually happening within the space. I have been on like a mini crusade for a while now, trying to let people know and understand that a lot of what we see isn't the only thing that's there. And I think the things, logically, that many people pay attention to is some level of transparency. So I can sit here and scream at the top of my lungs, as and have done in many other videos, to try and explain to you or to let people know how much Bitcoin is actually being accumulated, where the coins are going. We have a lot of whale watches and whale numbers and whale addresses, and we see the movement of this stuff. And I was hoping, and it actually worked out, I was hoping that we would get to see the actual movements of the market once people had these numbers and they could no longer be ignored. Long story short, like super long story short, without me going off into like another tangent, which I always do. We've gotten news the last couple of weeks exactly how much Bitcoin is being held and has been purchased by certain companies within the space. And now it's gotten to, I think, like the actual breaking point where this news has caused a lot of rumbles within the space. You've been seeing the market, you've seen the prices, you've seen a lot of people reacting. And a lot of people are now saying that based off of where we are and where we've been and what we've been doing the last like week or two, that we are actually already in the pre-halving rally, which is nuts. Typically, we don't see any type of significant movement in price once again until we're around 3 to 4 weeks away from the halving. At least it's the way that it was before during the other cycles. The issue, air quotes, is that in the earlier days, of course, Bitcoin and crypto weren't as popular. And then you reach over to the 2020, 2021 era, and it was popular, yes, but we were all preoccupied with a number of other things. So the prices would rise, but nothing as significant as we've been seeing in the last couple of days. This news, of course, made gigantic headlines. And when I saw it, I was like, of course, that's what's happening. Of course, this is exactly where we are as a market right now. Yeah. For those of you not looking at the screen, BlackRock alone now has over 100,000 Bitcoin. Why is this number significant? Well, one, it's the number 100,000. And two, the last time that we got like a full scope of numbers, it came from the entirety of the Bitcoin ETF issuers. I believe it's 9 or 10 companies. That all of these companies put together had 100,000 Bitcoin. And now we get the news that it's just BlackRock alone who has 100,000. BlackRock's iShares Bitcoin Trust IBIT has achieved a remarkable milestone by amassing 100,000 Bitcoin under its administration. This achievement positions IBIT as a major player. It positions it? No, they're basically it at this point. IBIT's recent feat makes it the first Bitcoin ETF in the United States to facilitate trading of such a substantial amount, the regulated arena of the US now witnesses the exchange of 105,208 Bitcoin just through iBit alone. Once again, it's been around 5.5 weeks, somewhere around there. The other news that ties directly into this is just around over here. We also have numbers for the collective amount of all the ETFs that have actually been out there, the big four, yada, yada. There's a chart right here. It says ETF, big four. It says after the approval of the spot ETF in just 20 days, 20 days, 9 of the ETFs now hold more than 216,000 Bitcoin. They now hold just the ETF issuers. They now hold more than 1% of all Bitcoin that there ever will be. So we do not yet have 21 million Bitcoin. Right. That's going to take us 100 years to actually get to. It took them 20 days to accumulate over 1% of all Bitcoin. It even says it on the screen. This also surpasses, I thought it was 180, it's 190. It surpasses the 190,000 Bitcoin that MicroStrategy has been accumulating over the course of the last 3 years. If this continues, by the time we get to the halving, they are going to just simple math. They're going to have over 500,000 Bitcoin. Also, we are going to be hearing a lot more news from other companies who've been accumulating. We just had news very recently from Peter Thiel's company that they also apparently, I think, just bought $100 million worth of Bitcoin as well. So this accumulation is happening in mass right in front of us. It's not even... Once again, this is why I said I needed the world to see the numbers. Because if we hear all the time that there are whales and large entities who are buying huge amounts of Bitcoin, of course it makes the news, but then it disappears from the mind quite rapidly. Because we also can't really keep track of those wallets. So we might see that a huge amount entered a wallet and then it kind of disappears into the ether, if you will, of the public consciousness. But this is something else entirely. We have not gotten to the halving. It is believed now that we are in the pre-halving rally. The pre-halving rally you guessed it, tends to last until the halving. There's been before in the past a slight dip in price as people try to be opportunistic and try to sell the news. And then these people have a very difficult time figuring out that the coins that they sold off end up being purchased by someone else, and then the price continues rising over the course of an 18-month period. Yeah, there's a lot going on all the time in this space, and I'm glad that better now than December, that people are now waking up to all these things that are going on. I see a lot of people talking about making some purchases. I know that a lot of people are doing like dollar cost averaging. This is going to be one of the craziest rides that we've ever had within this space because we've never been in a situation like this before. We've known that institutions have been in the market, but I was under like very fragile expectations of where the market could potentially go. We didn't have even years ago, 2015, 16, 17, 18, if you look back at old articles, part of the problem, if you will, with the cryptocurrency market is that there wasn't enough data. So normally you can look at the stock market or a stock or a company and kind of compile everything into a computer and have like a learning model basically tell you, okay, well, the risk factor looks like this and this looks like this and the potential for profit looks like this based off of, 50, 60, 70, 80 years worth of data. If Bitcoin's been around for 8 years, well, you don't really have that much information. So after 15 years, we still do not have like an egregious amount of information, especially when it's believed we have, 10, was it 1 out of every 80 people in the world or something like that is actually into crypto, is into Bitcoin in some sort of way. So it'll still take us another like extra couple of years to even see, like, we're going to look back and see these prices and be like, well, yeah, of course it went that high. Like, of course the price was too low when we were looking at it. Of course, in the future, it ended up hitting $500,000. Those price predictions are still everywhere as well. Don't you forget it. All the major analysts, for those of you who've missed the last couple of videos, are still all predicting that Bitcoin's price is going to go over $500,000 to $600,000 per coin. And that's because it's not just us anymore. Like, think of MicroStrategy is a very, like, a wealthy company. Like they're not rich. You can't take out $500 million worth of debt and then go buy Bitcoin. That's not a normal person thing to kind of do. It took them 3 years to acquire what these companies did in 20 days. We're going to see if we end up getting to the point. So let me put it to you this way. If that was 20 days for 200,000, if by the time we get to July, August, if what are people going to do if these companies hold 1 million Bitcoin? It's logical. Like, it's not even like a weird question or like something that is out of the realm of possibility. If it took them 20 days to do that, what would you do if by the time we get to July, August, they own over 1 million Bitcoin? And then we hear that MicroStrategy bought even more. And this other company bought even more. Jack Dorsey's buying like 15, 20 Bitcoin a day or something insane like that. Crazy, right? Like, absolutely, completely insane. Also tying directly into this is going to be a huge topic in the news for a while. This isn't going to go away. It is the reason why the markets are moving, why we're talking about a $500,000 Bitcoin. Bitcoin spot ETFs in the United States have collectively breached $3 billion in net inflows. Here we go. Roughly 1 month after launch, blasting past the performance of gold ETFs when they were first launched 20 years ago. It took Bitcoin ETFs a month to completely outperform every other ETF in existence, and the main one being the gold ETF comparison. If you've seen the last couple of videos, we've had a lot of charts and a lot of information and a lot of news. Bitcoin is now the 10th largest thing on the planet, like, of all things. Not monetary tool, not cryptocurrency, not, so-and-so. No, like, Bitcoin is larger than Tesla. It's larger than JP Morgan Chase. It's larger than Visa. Out of all the things on the planet, Bitcoin is number 10. The thing that's at number 1 is gold. If Bitcoin price rises by another 30, 40%, I think it becomes the 4th or 5th largest asset ever, like, on the planet. And one of the comparisons constantly is against the idea of gold. A lot of, and I mean, at this point, it's kind of written on the blockchain, is written in the stars. No, I don't even know how to put that into words. Of course, Bitcoin is going to pass by gold. Like, it's just completely obvious. It might not be this bull run, but gosh darn it, it's going to be the next or the next one after that. The idea has always been that Bitcoin is digital gold and will pass by the actual physical gold. And seeing that, it took, how do you even compare these things? 20 years ago, gold got its first ETFs, and I think it rose from, I think it was $300 an ounce. That sticks in my head for some reason. I want to say $300 an ounce to $2,000 an ounce, where it currently floats somewhere around there. This is why there was also a lot of optimism by Wall Street when it came to the idea of Bitcoin ETFs. For those of you who didn't know, it was a huge portion of it was the ease at which people would be able to accumulate it. So if you had tons of people who were buying stocks and buying bonds and buying mutual funds on their platforms, they'd be able to also buy it in that way, like from these platforms, without having to sign up for Kraken or for Binance or for Coinbase. The other side of it is that we've seen that when a commodity gets an ETF, its price skyrockets basically over the course of a 10 to 15 year period. So there were people who were putting the chart side by side. I don't have it here, like it just popped into my head, but you can find them definitely out there. There were people who were putting Bitcoin's chart comparative to gold after the moment of and after Bitcoin, after gold got its ETFs, comparing with that same exact price movement, if over the course of all those years, Bitcoin also moved up as well. And that's where a lot of people got that $10 million Bitcoin idea from, that it would, over the course of all those years, the price would continue rising. And then at some point, it's expected that anywhere above $10 million, Bitcoin's price would become stabler. It wouldn't stop moving upward. It would just become more stable comparative to what it is right now. So any movements over the course of a day or a week may only be 0.5% or 1%, as opposed to anything absolutely completely insane. Blasting past the performance of gold ETFs when they were launched 20 years ago. The milestone comes even including Grayscale's fund, which has only seen outflows as long-term investors cash out, many of them moving their funds back into other ETFs or even into the other ETF. Excluding Grayscale, inflows are closing in on $10 billion. This is according to data from BitMEX Research. As of late Monday, inflows across those other Bitcoin ETFs tallied more than $9.6 billion. I think you get the point. These ETFs are juggernauts in what they're doing. The idea that someone said a day or two ago that there was a lot of pent up energy as far as Wall Street wanting to get into ETFs. And I think it was a complete understatement. And this is all happening before we've seen any real action, before the amount of Bitcoin created per day even gets cut in half, which is also going to cause the market to completely and utterly lose its minds. There's another chart right here. Here's the actual amount of Bitcoin that's being held. Yeah. I know we basically talk about this every day or every other day, but it's the reason why the market is going insane. Normally, we would see maybe the beginning of April, prices beginning to move back up. We would probably be around a $32,000, $34,000 Bitcoin. By the time we got to December of this year, without the ETFs, we probably would be around a $60,000, $70,000 Bitcoin. We'd hit the previous all-time high, and then usually August, September, October of the year after is when we would hit the all new high, like the high. But a lot of that is being predicted sometime by summer, just because of all these numbers that you understand. It's just a lot going on, and I'm not fatigued, but it's so much to constantly talk about all the time. It's actually a little bit, the word's not draining, but there's just so much happening at one given time, also in life, also in finance, also with the stock market and equities and all these other things taking place. And then to see all of this finally happening after all these years is it's just a lot. Yeah. So that's the BlackRock alone is holding more than 100,000 Bitcoin. The ETFs collectively hold more than 216,000 Bitcoin. And after a month, Bitcoin ETFs have completely outdone what it took gold 20 years to do. Also, if you missed that video as well, of all the ETFs in the United States, I think it's 10,000 was the number that we were given. Bitcoin has outperformed, the Bitcoin ETFs have outperformed 99.98% of them. 99.98% in 1 month. Now imagine this time next year. Imagine 2027. Imagine 2030. Right. That's the spot Bitcoin ETFs news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in popular news, the Ethereum network is seeing more energy than it was before. The amount of people who are staking on Ethereum has begun to rise. There was a bit of a lull kind of esque period for a while where people were staking, but it wasn't as driven as it currently is at this moment. A lot of people believe it's because of the upcoming upgrade on the 13th of March, the Den Kun upgrade, which is supposed to add blobs, like I think it's literally called blobs, and allow for more transaction speed and space on the blockchain to alleviate costs and a whole bunch of other things for layer 2 solutions. And also, what's the other thing? The anticipation of the idea that there might be Ethereum ETFs. So a lot of people are beginning to whisper about the fact that if this happened in 1 month for Bitcoin and Ethereum has a much lower price comparatively, people think that we could see 10 to 15% of all the Ether accumulated over the course of a 1 to 2 month period from the actual ETF issuers. And then if that happens, of course, Ethereum's price is going to push up sky high as well. And this has renewed calls, for those of you who missed it before, of the idea of a $10,000 Ether. So, of course, there's a lot of optimism and speculation when it comes to this as well. And people are now buying up ETH at this current price in anticipation of staking it. There was also one of the potential ETF issuers, for those of you who missed that video as well, announced that their Ethereum ETF is going to include staking. So on behalf of their clients, from what we, the public, understand, is that on behalf of their clients, they would accumulate Ether and they would stake that Ether, and then it would basically pay out a dividend from the money that the company gets from staking, which would we would see a $10,000 Ether nearly overnight. I think it would shock a lot of people exactly how fast we would get there. But the amount of staking is very, the word's not optimistic exactly, bullish. Bullish is the word I was looking for, because more people are locking their coins into the network to basically stabilize it, to validate transactions, and to make passive income from it. The more that they're staked, the less circulating supply that there actually is. The less circulating supply, the more movement of the other coins. The more movement of the other coins and the usage of them, the more coins get burned in the background. The more deflationary Ethereum becomes. The more deflationary it becomes, the more attractive it becomes to investors. If the ETFs do get pushed through, they're going to be buying a huge amount of it. And also imagine if 10 to 15% extra of all Ether was staked over the course of a 1 month period. Imagine by the time we got to the end of this year, 60-70% of all Ether was just held by these companies and is completely being staked. Right. So it is leading a lot of people to be extremely positive and optimistic, simply because a lot of people are expecting, as we've heard from the woman Hester Pierce from the SEC, said that she doesn't think that it's going to be as difficult to get an Ethereum ETF. There's a lot of weird speculation behind the scenes, Gary Gensler, secret meetings, who knows exactly what's going on, but the Ethereum news is getting quite heavy. This is also like kind of it as well. Talking about the amount of people who are like signing up to be validators has also jumped. The Ethereum network is witnessing a spike in the number of validators looking to stake their ETH. The so-called validator entry queue has jumped to 7,045, the highest since October 6th of last year, according to data source Validator Q. Okay. The waitlist, representing over 225,000 Ether, $500 million, is expected to be cleared out in over 48 hours. Ethereum limits the number of new validators that can join the network each epoch or time it takes to process blocks on the blockchain. A lot of renewed optimism, a lot of stuff going on. The yield is currently around 4%. A lot of people think that might change relatively soon. I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of banks and companies who are now offering like bank accounts and stuff like that also have around 4% now as well. So in general, the idea is that when banks were offering people half of 1%, 4% was like cool, amazing. But if everyone's offering 4%, If you can offer 6 or 7%, it makes your chain even more attractive to everyone else. I'm not sure if you've seen Apple, like, the company has a high yield savings account, as do many other companies. It's really weird. Like for some reason, everyone kind of popped back into the idea of having high yield savings accounts over the course of the last year or so. Yeah, that's the Ethereum validator spike is moving up as well. The anticipation of the ETFs is quite high. Heaven help the market if we get them. It's going to be another complete run of insanity. And I think also keep in mind, this is just happening now. Like, imagine the summer, imagine the winter, imagine 2-3 years from now. These Bitcoin ETFs that we have, they're not going away. Like, they're not only with us for a season. These are going to be with us for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years as well. Keep all that in mind as the market continues to go insane. That's the Ethereum staking news. And yeah, let's move on. I saw this news and I thought it was something else. Like, I just assumed what the news would be, but it ended up being something a little bit cringier. But that's just me. Coinbase has launched a new ad campaign advocating for the transformation of pennies into digital assets through blockchain technology, citing the inefficiencies of the current fiat system. So I assumed there are apps out there. I think one is called Acorns, not affiliated. I have a friend in the States and she uses it. She told me that her and her husband have a hard time saving. So what they do is they use that app or another app. And basically anytime you buy something, it rounds up, and the rounded up amount gets thrown into stocks or into the stock market or whatever the actual case might be. So I assume that Coinbase was launching something like this, where it's not like a buyback thing or like a chargeback, cashback, but it was more of a, okay, cool, you have some extra change left. Why not convert it into Satoshis? Why not convert it into the cryptocurrency of your choice? But it ended up being a bit weirder. Coinbase's ad campaign is about how fiat currency isn't efficient, and therefore fiat currency should be made into stable coins, which makes it even weirder because they're just talking about pennies. Released on National Lost Penny Day. What? The campaign highlights the potential of stable coins to revolutionize traditional currency systems, emphasizing the cost savings and efficiency gains that could be achieved by transitioning to blockchain-based solutions. So it seems like something that they're doing, and I'm going to, just guess here, psychic powers. They're probably talking to a number of governments and or companies and or countries, trying to get them to use their blockchain. Coinbase created their own blockchain called Base. Terrible name. I think a year and a half ago or something like that. And we saw a lot of articles in the very beginning with them talking about how popular, awesome, cool, amazing that it actually was. But I predicted that no one wanted it and no one was actually using it. So we had news a couple of months ago that apparently they had processed hundreds of millions of dollars through their chain, but we already have other chains. Just because Binance did it doesn't mean that Coinbase has to do it. A lot of Coinbase's ad campaigns always just revolve around them. And I've noticed, obviously it's an ad campaign for them, but let me explain. So remember when Coinbase was having that lawsuit with the SEC and they told everyone to join hands and like Captain Planet to help Coinbase and fight against the SEC? And I was like, you only need people when you can't do it yourself or when you feel like you want the public backing of something, as opposed to just using your money like you've always done. So it's the same exact thing where I'm assuming that this is all going to be going through their blockchain called Base. It seems like another one of those situations where how do I say this? In the cryptocurrency space, if you are a company who's been here since 2011, 2012, like I think Coinbase has, the idea is that you would want to move over to blockchain, yes, but you would, in essence, hear me out here. The original idea was to move over simply to Bitcoin. So you would transition into the Bitcoin system. This is the way that we make paper currencies more efficient. But saying that they should simply move over to a stable coin also lets me know that they're talking about the Coinbase coin. What is it? USDC. It's a collaboration between the company Circle and Coinbase. I call it Coinbase coin because if you find the original articles from like 2017 or something like that, 2018, it was basically known as Coinbase coin because they were the main company who was behind it. According to Coinbase, the United States spends millions annually on producing pennies, which I think is also a little weird. Okay, which are often lost or discarded, representing a significant economic waste. By digitizing currency on a well-designed blockchain, what? I'm sure they mean theirs. The inefficiencies associated with physical coins could be eliminated, benefiting both individuals and small businesses. No, we don't need... All you would do would digitize the US dollar in the form of a stable coin as opposed to a central-based digital currency that would be on top of Coinbase's blockchain, which isn't decentralized. We had news before, for those of you who missed it. Apparently, there were a couple of transactions that got stopped on their blockchain. This was also months ago when it happened with Tether and some other chains, and people were like, you can't do that. And I'm like, it's Coinbase. They're a company, like they work with government officials and all these other like tax companies. So of course they're going to stop transactions and freeze transactions and things that are happening on their blockchain. The even weirder part is that apparently they had an animated Abraham Lincoln. Coinbase is very cringy for me, and I wonder who does their advertising. Not that I'm knocking it. It's just more of the whole public relation advertising thing is very weird for Coinbase. It's like a family member who you don't want to see. Like, you know, they mean well, but like when you sit near them at like Thanksgiving or dinner, like you kind of just make small talk with them, hoping to get away really, really fast. And then before you leave, they hand you like their card to tell you that they're now selling used cars. And like, if you have any friends who want a car, like that's what Coinbase always feels like to me. It's like that cousin, like oh, hey, Ronald, what's up? Oh, again, another new job. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, you have a billboard on the highway. Wow. All right. Well, got to go to the bathroom. You know, it's been one of those days. And you just, I don't know. Coinbase is very odd to me. So cool. Their new ad campaign is talking about pennies, an animated version of Abraham Lincoln, and talking about how there needs to be a well-designed blockchain. I assume they mean their blockchain to digitize. It hurts them so much that they're not Tether. It makes them so angry that they're not Tether and that people haven't like chosen them as the number one stablecoin issuer. I know they're so angry. And I assumption behind the scenes, big money, y'all. I assume behind the scenes, there's a lot of discussions with governments and countries. I mean, if Ripple's doing it, if Ripple is talking to other countries about issuing their central bank digital currencies on the XRP blockchain, you'd better believe Coinbase is also probably doing the exact same thing. Weird company, but people love them. I do sincerely hope that you have all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. The market is... Here we go. Thank you all once again, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.